up, surf the radio waves as we begin to burn it up. We all up in your area like Pancakes. It's the mandate that you tune in. It's time to move out so we can move. I'm here to clear the air so that there is no confusion. It all started off in the book of Genesis with who he thought was him. When the man saw he couldn't overpower him, he touched the tip but he really couldn't have devoured him. Change the game, so now we gotta change lanes. So I'm here to let you know it's time to listen. Let's burn it up, burn it up. It's a pancake and power. Burn it up, burn it up. It's a pancake. Slam, yo, turn it up, turn it up. It's a pancake and power. Turn it up, turn it up. It's a pancake and power slam, yo,
You are now listening to the Pancakes on Blog Talk Radio. Be sure to follow Crave Wrestling and join the Facebook fan page, Crave Wrestling.
And we are live and living Killigan, funky like a monkey if you will, baby. Episode 371. I am Chris Featherstone. This is the Pancakes and Powerslams show, Babel. We've got so much fun tonight. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. I've got Ricky the Dragon Steamboat interview, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's so funny. It was such an amazing interview that, it was only supposed to be like 20 minutes and ended up turning it to 2 full parts, nearly an hour long. And so it was absolutely fantastic. One of the greatest I've ever had. One of the greatest interviews I've ever had. So, pleased with the outcome of the interview. And so Steamboat, I think you'll like Steamboat's interview. He shared some really interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. So what we're going to do is actually we're going to Jay said great doth the impersonation Babel. Welcome to the chat room, Jay. Welcome to the P&P Nation, the P&P Gallery. Ken can't wait to hear Ricky Steamboat. What's going on, Multi? What's going on, guys? All right, so we got a loaded show tonight. And back by popular demand, we have none other than the brackets. I'll let you see a little bit of that. Just a little snippet. But the bracket is back. And we're going to have a lot of fun with the bracket tonight. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm doing well, Malty. Ready for you all to hear the wonderful interview from Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Like I said, it's going to be, what's going on, Mo? Mo's pumped about the bracket. Malty, I'm doing well. Good question. So yeah, it's we're gonna have a lot of fun, guys. Of course, part 2 will be next week, so stay tuned next week. This week we're gonna do part 1 with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Kimbo says it's about to be on like a steaming pot of neck bones. There's a Stevie Ray. Here's Stevie Ray. Ken, good question, man. I don't accept super chats because this it's interesting, man. I have a really good relationship with Wrestling Inc. So this is my show, Pancakes and Powerslams. Has been 7 years strong, 7 years long, and I've been writing for Wrestling Inc. for a while. So the Pancakes and Powerslams show video portion is showed through Wrestling Inc.'s YouTube, but I do have a Patreon. Pancakes and Powerslams Patreon, so you can definitely give there. and you can also see all of my fun stuff there. So the Patreon is coming up as Pancakes and Powerslams can. So I really, really appreciate that. Donate on Patreon and exchange that for a super chat. All right. So thank you for that question, Ken. I really appreciate that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get into it. You know what time it is. It is time for the Ricky Steamboat interview. And after that, I'll be right back. Let's get into it and have some fun. I will be back. Enjoy the interview, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Featherstone and Cakes and Push. As I said before, this is great. This is 471, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is a great. As a journalist, but as a wrestling fan, I've interviewed many people, maybe 10 now, from WWE, and I love this. But you get your bucket list items every now and then, and there's a few to interview. Two of those people I've interviewed, and this person makes three, and it's funny because this person is also in my favorite wrestlers of all time. I've said this many times. A lot of people know my list, and I've been wrestling for over 30 years now, and this person is just probably face in pro wrestling history, one of the most fluid wrestlers. I say too much about him as far as who he is, but I'm so glad that he's on the show tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. How are you tonight, sir?
Hey, Chris. The best intro that I've ever had.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Intro I've ever had.
Wow. You've interviewed a lot in your
Who are the other two guys from your top list?
Yeah, well, I'll give you my number Chris Jericho, number 3 is you, number 2 is Dusty Rhodes, and number 1 is Sting. Those are my top 5 right there. Been my top 5 for, I don't know, probably. And yes, that's my story. I'm sticking to it as far as my favorites. I don't think that top be broken. Top 5 for a while, and I don't think it'll ever go away because, especially you, Dusty, and Sting. You three. I was an NWA guy growing up. I like WWE, but early now, and I started watching wrestling around '85. I would say about 80. Well, you were mostly WWE in the mid '80s. Well, you're a WWE, NWA. U.S. title, and then you had your little WWE run, and then of course the NWA the championship in '89, and so '80s wrestling. Although I watched both, there was something about because I was just having this conversation last week. Last for SmackDown, and beforehand a bunch of us just fellowship and or something like that, and so we were talking. I was just like, there's something about old school NWA. I just really had someone compete in a match and walk over and plug their match, plug their brand, and then cut a scathing promo against their nemesis and give us such a cliffhanger of what town to watch whatever weekend it is. This Saturday in Evansville, you better come because I'm going to take you. draw to me as a fan, because I think the art of the cliffhanger, and I really love that about the NWA.
Not only with cliffhangers, but I think the guys that worked in the NWA were head and shoulders up. You know, when you were in the NWA, I burned in AWA, but that was just a quick run, and then I spent so many years, late '84 and the beginning of '85, and then I went up to when there was the WWF at that time. This is story of why I went from NWA to WWF.
Those who maybe they've never heard it, so go for it.
Dusty Rhodes came in as the booker for Croc. Is this the story? And he was still working, of course, and top baby face Crockett Mid-Atlantic. And just using me to make him to take the heel after I've had a run and then beat him. Now, I enjoyed working with Tully. And, even though the main event match was 60 minutes, the TV championship was only up to. And we have our match, and I would beat him in 15 minutes, and then get on TV, the time limit extended to 20 minutes, and we beat him in 22. He'd been around the territory, both North and South Carolina and Virginia for a couple of months. He had a big book himself with Tully, went out there and beat him in 8 minutes. And the next thing I found out I was being hooked up with Nikita Koloff when Nikita was just very green. And we were going to do an angle on TV, and I think my head went into the upper bleachers. Long after that, I just went into Jim Crockett. I said, I've been here. I think about every move. I didn't put any heat on Dusty. I didn't say the reasons, and we said, look, I've been for to make a move. And that's when I made my move. But 20 years later, maybe 25 years later, when I was working at NXT, I had a talk with Dusty. He brought up the fact that I said no. I told him the story. I said, and using me, I was a top babyface, and you being a top babyface, so I just. And I looked at that, and I said, for over 20, 25 years, I'm telling you right now that I'm going to thank you for it. When I left and went to the WWF at that time, it took Ricky Steamboat to.
It did.
It did. And after all these years, I'm just going to say thank you. I understand your position. You're the booker, and you've got to make things happen and make things work. I was but the ill feeling is gone.
Wow.
And he said,
wow. And he said, well,
hardly said it. just looked at me and gave me a nod and a smile, and they shook hands, and to NXT school, FCW.
Wow. That's really interesting. Thank you for that. I didn't know that. Now, I knew that there was some conflict between you, and I didn't know about the bearing the hatchet, so to speak. So
that's new news to you, right?
It is, and I love to hear new stuff.
That's what Nicholas, the Russian, right?
Yeah.
And the writing on the wall that I see, and Blue's going to eventually work the main events with the Russian.
Yeah. Yeah, they ended up teaming together too. They won the Crockett Cup too, if I'm not mistaken, for 1 year. Really, really interesting. And this is one other thing that's really interested about. I know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, because the run at your WWE run halted because you wanted to concentrate more on spending time with your family.
No.
Okay. Well,
we did the angle in December of '86 with me and Sasha with the announcer's bell. And leading up to that, my wife at the time, Bonnie, was pregnant, and my firstborn was going to be this week of July. And I said, I'd like to have after off 2 weeks, because I want to. Chris, at those days, we were doing 300 shows a year. Well, we just wanted to be sure that I wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Who?
Right.
I was in my mid-30s, and Savage and I had a match, one of my all-time favorites, and we took the Intercontinental Belt to another level. And politics as it may be, then we can't leave the belt dormant for a week, and is it like you to drop it to well, who brought Honky Tonk in?
Oh, no. That's a good question. Did you know? No.
Hulk Hogan. Suggested to Vince to drop the belt to Tonk. Hulk Hogan. And this news, this comes all do and say that.
And what are your thoughts on, he's the longest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Do you think?
I don't know anything about that, honestly. What's funny is that I had the belt about 8 weeks. When I do appear Q&As, room full of fans, and I started doing the last 6-7 years. What is his name never brought up?
Are you talking about Honky Tonk Man's? That is really interesting. Well, he only had one. I mean, he was the longest Intercontinental. He only had one run. So I don't know if someone would consider him fame worthy And I think him being in the Hall of Fame, makes sense. Kind of like a one and done. Just because you had a long reign doesn't necessarily mean that greatest. Like, for instance, was before AJ Styles, JBL was the longest reigning world champion in SmackDown here, around there. And he's not considered one of the greatest, even but he's not considered greatest because he had the longest reign.
Yeah, well, real quick, I work, and I especially enjoy his interviews, his promos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's that, Texas blood off the cuff, For sure. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he is. I agree. I think his promo.
You know what would be? If some guy would go out there and start doing promos like old.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's get the nod from all the old school fans, but certainly I think the new.
Agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because things feel so fabricated when it comes to promos. Promos is what hooked me, so I'm a promo guy. I love hearing good authentic. On Nikita, this guy was so that he started to talk like he was like really Russian. You know what I mean? Like, I loved that, and just it's interesting because I think someone like you really transcended. But I think that the scope now is started. You you, like, for instance.
All right, we will end it there, guys. I'm gonna get that straightened out for you guys. I want you all to have a Daniel thought I was doing it live. Well, now it's live. We're live, pal, now. We're going to get that together for you. I'm going to actually play the full interview. We're going to get that. There's some difficulties going on. Next week, I'm going to play the entire interview instead of 1 and 2. I'm going to play the whole thing. All right. So yeah, it were some changes that I made here in my office, service wise, and the actual interview sounds great. But yeah, that's the bad part of being live, but you all can hear me fine now, I believe. So that is that. So we're gonna get that straightened out. I'm gonna get that straightened out for you guys. Once again, I apologize for the glitches and everything, because I did the full interview, and the full interview sounds absolutely fantastic. But yeah, just unforeseen glitches there that I will get straightened out. The video part is fine. You can hear me fine. But with this podcasting, with the audio part, is just glitching. So changes are going to need to be made and rectified. And what I'll do for you all, for the PNP Nation, is I will go ahead and play the full thing. With everything. Yeah, you're good now, not choppy. Yeah, I mean, the live and audio is just fine. And like I said, the full interview, the actual interview is just it's just fine. That's right, Daniel. Have a come to Jesus meeting with it, Chris. Absolutely. I sure will. I'm gonna have a come to Jesus meeting with this podcast software, this podcast host here. But we'll get it done. You got 16 minutes of the interview. What I'll do is I'll Yeah, I'll play the whole thing. I was going to set it. I was going to do a Patreon type thing, but because of that, I'm going to do it. Lexi said her stream is consistent. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, we'll get it together for you all, and we will make sure. I will make sure that that is going to be absolutely fantastic. All right, so Max Chris questions, and like I said, what I'll do is I think I'll go ahead and put it. I'll go ahead and make a video of it. And post it on Twitter. So I'll go ahead and post the entire thing. Okay, I'll post the entire thing up within the next day, probably right after the show, just so you all can enjoy the interview all by itself, and without any interruptions or glitches. So we'll do that. I'll go ahead and make that happen for you all, the PNP Nation, and go ahead and make that work for you all. All right. Again, my apologies for the glitches. I'll make it happen just fine for you. My Twitter page is at Chris Prolific, Ryan. At Chris Prolific. I'll go ahead and put it on my Twitter. I'll go ahead and put the whole video page on my Twitter. And again, I apologize for that, for those glitches. All right, so here's the thing. Here's the good news about what's going to happen today. This is for GHP too. So this is by popular demand. This is something that's been requested for a while now. And here we go. You ready? I appreciate it, Daniel. Here it is. Brackets. So I got a full page. Look. Nice and neat for you all. Made it work. Made it happen. So this bracket this week is in honor of Ricky Steamboat being on the show. The fans' choice, the PNP Nation today is going to vote on the best one-time NWA WCW Big Gold Belt World Heavyweight Champion since 1989. All right, so since Steamboat was a one-time champ, he's a one-time Big Gold Belt winner. There's been 11 Big Gold Belt winners, one-time Big Gold Belt winners since 1989. There's been 11. Okay, so this is how we're going to do the bracket here. So you have the reason why Goldberg is here is because Goldberg is a one-time, but he had the longest reign of the one-time champs. Goldberg did. The reason why Chono, so he gets a double bye. Chono is here. He gets a bye because Chono is second and third. These are the top three. Goldberg is first, Chono, and Wyndham. These are the three longest reigning one-time Big Gold Belt champions since 1989. Now the rest that you have on this side, these are the four shortest reigns. I think Russo had it for a week, Benoit had it for a day, Arquette had it for 12 days, and Hiroshi Hase had it for 8 days. And then these are longer reigns. Steamboat like 76. Scott Steiner had like 120 days or something like that. Muda had it for like around 2 months. And Fujinami had it like for about 4 months. So and again, Barry Windham gets to buy. Chono gets a buy. Goldberg gets a double buy because he had it for the longest. So that's how we're going to do the 11. That's how we're going to do the 11 people, and then of course at the end of the show you are going to vote on who is the best one-time Big Gold Belt winner. So Hiroshi Hase, he's on there because he won the Big Gold Belt when it was the WCW International Championship. So I'm counting that too, because a lot of you wrestling fans remember how there were some issues, and then the Big Gold Belt, the one that like Ron Simmons won. I didn't count Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons is a one-time champ, but unfortunately he never had the Big Gold Belt, so I don't count him as the Big Gold Belt winner. He is a one time. I like that Zed hashtag Big Gold bracket. Ron Simmons is a one-time winner, but he did not hold the Big Gold Belt. So yeah. Those are the 11 names who have the Big Gold Belt over the past 30 years who was NWA WCW. I did not count any of the WWE reigns either. So the one-time WWE reigns. So interestingly, and it's funny. It's funny because although Goldberg had the belt for about 6 months, almost 6 months, he only had one reign as champion. That's crazy. And Scott Steiner also had a reign for only 120 days too. So that was a big surprise too. So, for some reason, it's crazy when you look back and you realize that Scott Steiner and Goldberg only had the title, only had a WCW championship reign only one time. Longer reigns. I think, like I said, Steiner had it for 4 months. Goldberg had it for about 6, but only one reign for both. So very interesting stuff there. All right, so here we go with the hashtag Ask Chris questions. Daniel's putting over Doom. Yes, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed. All right, so like Lexi's asking, with the barrage of discontent being spread by WWE stars such as TJP and Rhino, do you believe these actions are contributing to the rapid decline in weekly viewership? I think the rapid decline in weekly viewership comes from the fact that WWE is doing such a poor job with building storylines and cliffhangers. And we talked about that in the Steamboat interview. Like I said, check it out on Chris Prolific. Follow me at Chris Prolific. I'm going to post the entire thing after the podcast. All right, go ahead and set that up and go ahead and do the entire thing. All right, so, and it's very, very, very plush, very, very cool interview. 52 minutes long, so prepare yourself for that. Although I'll probably do both parts. Just check out Chris Prolific there. I did put it in 2 parts, and so I might just go ahead and just the for you guys to digest. And some people, 52 minutes all in one swoop is a little bit too much, but so yeah, I did manage to edit it and put it in 2 parts. So I might just go ahead and do both parts and go ahead and post it on my Twitter, or I might cliffhang you all and post the first part only on Chris Prolific Twitter page, and then cliffhang you all and have you all wait till next week. So we'll see. All right. So yeah, Lexi, as far as the question that you're asking, it's just a lack of build. It's a lack of build. It's a lack of storylines. It's interesting how the new wrestling fans are, and it's making wrestling more and more into a niche market, because you have the hardcore wrestling fans loving their hard-hitting matches with a lot of flips and a lot of moves and a whole bunch of other stuff. But at the same time, WWE isn't supposed, as far as WWE, it's not supposed to be a niche market, because you want TV deals, you want all the money from the ad revenue, all those things. And if they're saying, okay, well, this is niche, I'm trying to make this a global enterprise and expansion. I'm supposed to make the WWE a national, international conglomerate. having a niche product is doesn't help them at all. Actually, it hurts them. As a matter of fact, back in the day, we remembered WWE being so larger than life in a sense of the characters, the storytelling, the plots, the narratives. The wrestling part was not even like I always say the 70-30 rule. Give me 70% of what happened outside the ring, 30% of what happens inside the ring. What hooked wrestlers was the fact that the build to the match was, it was amazing. It was phenomenal. The match was just the icing on the cake. That's why you didn't have, let's be real here. Not a lot of people were like amazing catch can wrestlers. You had your TA was a solid wrestler. Of course, you had your Blanchards. Arn was very solid. Flair. But, look at it. Luger was a top star. Nikita was a top star. Dusty was very solid, but he wasn't, he wasn't a good wrestler as far as like catches can. His character was what made him larger than life. So if you really think about it, especially from a WWE standpoint, all the people who Hogan was feuding against, Stud, Andre, Bundy, Earthquake, Typhoon, they weren't wrestlers. They were characters. They were villains that you loved to hate. And that's, WWE and WCW, NWA, there were characters, and that's what really drove the company. And we don't have that nowadays. We don't have strong characters. We don't have strong builds. It's not the same type of wrestling as people, you're trying to draw casual crowds. It's almost gotten to the point of embarrassment for someone to just invite their friend over, to watch wrestling with them now, or go watch a wrestling event. It's almost to the point of embarrassment now. And that's the sad part, and we've seen this decline for years now, and it's been going on since like at the end of like Ruthless Aggression. It's at least the past 7, 8, almost 10 years, really. Really, the past decade. We covered some controversial questions on the Flavor of the Week before, and we talked about John Cena possibly being the single biggest contributor of the WWE declining, because he's been the man over the past dozen years, and the WWE has declined. Decline. Last week was the worst was the lowest non-holiday Raw ever. And it's like, this is probably, I would say that this roster is probably the most talented roster in the history of WWE. And that goes to show you can have all the talent in the world, and that's what pro wrestling is. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have stories to build that talent, people aren't going to care. Simple as that. So, let's see what else we got as far as questions here. Let's see some good stuff here. Someone just made a statement. Okay, here's another one. There are numerous rumors spreading of Triple H blaming Vince for the negative backlash. This is supported by Triple H recently liking negative tweets aimed at VKM. Do I think that Vincent Kennedy McMahon will step down? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Vince McMahon will he'll die in office probably, because he would probably reject medical care because he has to be in Gorilla covering Raw. That's what I can see Vince McMahon doing. I do not see him stepping down anytime soon. I was thinking about this. Here's the bad thing about this. The same, Vince McMahon was the person who was the mastermind behind WWE, coming from a warehouse, armory style product to a national and even to an international empire. It was the same Vince McMahon who was responsible for that too. So the Hogans, the Warriors, the Savages, that was a Vince thing too. So it hasn't been a different person. It's still Vince McMahon, but I mean, maybe you can blame old age. Maybe you can blame the partnership with different sponsors. The maybe you can blame the what is it? The stock, being able publicly traded, being a publicly traded organization now. You can't say it's a PG thing because the 80s was PG. It wasn't, there was blood every now and then, but it wasn't like Austin. It wasn't like a bunch of beer swinging and profanity, and HLA and, a bunch of scantily scenes. That wasn't, none of that that wasn't an 80s thing. It was Hogan and Warrior battling over Elizabeth, who was a very modestly dressed person, an incredibly modest-looking, sophisticated lady that Hogan and Savage was feuding against. It was Hogan and it was Warrior and Savage. Sherry was a villain, but she still wasn't like dressed, like raunchy, provocative perhaps, but not like raunchy. So it wasn't it was still a kid friendly product. I mean, it was very kid friendly in the 80s. But so that's not the issue. So it's just a lack of storytelling. The storytelling is absolutely terrible. Cody says he gave Raw a shot for the first time in weeks. I tuned out after Revival Uzi Hot segment. And that's my point. That's my point. What Cody's saying. If I bring someone in who hasn't watched wrestling in a decade, and I'm saying, hey, man, give wrestling a try again, and I have them watch last night's Raw, they would say, what in the heck are you watching? This is embarrassing. And, case in point, the Uzi Hot Revival segment. And from what I've heard, they're burying the Revival right in front of our eyes for not signing another contract, which is absolutely ridiculous, absolutely petty. And that's something that that's something that needs to be handled backstage. Don't sabotage your product and have, sponsors and networks look at that mess. Who in the heck would want to buy into that? Because I'm airing my dirty laundry out in public. Take that stuff backstage. That stuff is petty. It's ridiculous. Let's see. I know Lexi's asking, I noticed that Sasha was not really mentioned this week. Do you think the office feels that they have effectively buried her and will now move forward with granting her release? Very good question. Well, she hasn't really been mentioned. Corey Graves mentioned her, in jest, but in a way sabotaging in a way too. I don't think they've effectively buried her because at the end of the day, Sasha Banks is still a hot commodity. Now they're burying the Revival, that's for sure. The Revivals, when they get their release, they're going to have to make good with with the indie crowd. But I don't know. I just, I guess I guess WWE is trying to make people forget about Sasha, so she won't be as much of a hot commodity. But I still think there's some time to go. Although she was kind of getting people kind of booing her for a while now, and I think that this is kind of helping the cause because people were kind of getting tired of where Sasha was anyways. So it's really sad. Very sad, very sad. Let's see what we got here. All right, guys. Let me see. Can you hear me all now? Very good. Let me know. Let me know if you can hear me. Hear me. All right. So it's just a few of these Ask Chris questions. Let me know where you at, PNP Nation. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Daniel says I'm good. Zed says I'm good. Good. All right. Let me see these comments here. It was legit tab teams, Rockwell Express, Midnight Express, Road Warriors, Von Erich's Freebirds. Absolutely. Sitting on Harper's contract is also petty. Yep. Absolutely. Let's see what we got. Ryan is asking, what do you think of the new Wildcard Rule in WWE? I'll get to yours, GHP, too. Oh, my gosh. So the Wildcard Rule was because of the historically low Raw rating. So I am for the split because here's the thing. I don't think this Wildcard Rule is going to have anything to do with the bump in ratings for the WWE. Nothing, because here's the thing. People were wanting the brand split because we saw Raw lights on SmackDown every single week, and they were doing rematches after rematches after rematches. It wasn't anything new developed on SmackDown. And guess what happened today? We saw Kofi and AJ, oh well, you were on Raw yesterday, and it's like we're seeing more Lars. The same, I don't see if they didn't do a brand split, it would be really bad for a lot of people trying to get to that top spot. I don't see Kofi Kingston as world champ. First of all, you're not going to have two champs. If there's no brand split, you're not going to have a WWE champion and a Universal champion. Of course, you're going to keep the WWE Championship legacy over the Universal Championship legacy. I don't see them canceling the Universal Championship. And that would certainly, and Kofi Kingston, as much as I'm a big Kofi Kingston fan, he's, in my top 5 as far as modern day, him in the New Day. I definitely don't see Kofi Kingston as a top guy. I definitely don't see someone like a Sami Zayn main eventing. And you're going to have your top few people, at least with the brand split, you can have 4 top guys instead of 2. Because at the end of the day, there's only 2 people who's going to vie for the title. I mean, maybe a triple threat match, but it's only going to be two guys vying for the top title. At least with the brand split, you're giving 2 other people a chance and having 4 top guys. And plus the roster is just way too full. It's way too clustered, way too crowded for it to be just one roster, one brand. It's way too. And plus, WWE is not. WWE's holding, freezing contracts. Like they're doing with Luke Harper. Icing him, being petty and extending his contract so he can sit for longer. People like Sasha Banks wanting to leave, the Revival wanting to leave, Rhino, he's sitting out in his contract right now. His contract's up in the summertime and he's not renewing. So I mean, people want to leave, but WWE is just like, well, you're going to stay until now. So you gotta have 2 brands. I mean, speaking of Rhino, I don't see Rhino and Slater being tag champs if there weren't 2 brands. Their whole angle that they had on SmackDown. At least it gives mid-carders a better opportunity to have moments. Because someone like an Ali, they're pushing him decently on SmackDown right now. There's no way in the world that Ali would be pushed, if there was just one brand and all the people on Raw and SmackDown are just intertwining between days. You'll just carry feuds over from Raw and just have Raw Light just like you did before. The Wildcard Rule to me is a knee-jerk reaction to bad ratings. And to me, I don't like it because I like the split. I like the split because it gives more people more opportunities. But if AJ's on Raw and SmackDown, AJ's going to be the forefront. If Roman Reigns is on Raw and SmackDown, Roman Reigns is going to people know I'm a huge Roman Reigns fan. But if you have people on Raw and SmackDown, it doesn't give other people who could have a chance an opportunity. So I think this wildcard rule is not good. Keep Raw, keep SmackDown. It has nothing to do with who's on Raw or SmackDown. Just book better. That's what. Just create better storylines, do better booking, and it has nothing to do with AJ needs to be on Raw and SmackDown. Roman Reigns needs to be on Raw and SmackDown. Absolutely not. If you're booking correctly, if you're giving me suspense, it doesn't matter who is where. I'm hooked. I'm intrigued. So that's the issue, not the wild card rule. So that was just a knee-jerk reaction that, to me, is not going to do much of anything. Got some other good questions here. Okay, Tammy's asking, what do you think about Shane having feuds on both shows, especially when there's much unused talents begging to be used? Exactly. Exactly, Tammy. Exactly. That's the issue. That's the big issue, because you have unused talent, but again, you have the top names being the top names. It has nothing to do with the top names or with people, unused talent not being utilized. But at the same time, you're going to still have the top names just interchanged between Raw and SmackDown. That's exactly what happened before the split. So, Shane McMahon, again, I'm a big Shane fan too. But he's on Raw and SmackDown. Shane and Miz is not a Raw feud, but now it's become a Raw and SmackDown feud. So that feud on SmackDown now pushes time away from an unused talent. Have we seen Apollo Crews on SmackDown yet? No. Becky Lynch was not on Raw or SmackDown. I know they had, I know that they were on a European tour and things like that. Finn was in Ireland. But it's like, at least you gave him a video. But it's like, man, this is this is some tough stuff. And you have people on tour and still couldn't utilize talent. It's like, it's ridiculous. Apollo Crews has not been on SmackDown yet. And it has been 3 weeks since the Superstar shakeup. So yeah, it was ridiculous. Becky was on Raw. Her and the Lacey Evans scuffle thing. But yeah, I mean, she's being pushed down the down the line. I think the fact that she's on both shows, it doesn't really help. I don't think it helps her. I think you can see too much of somebody, and it dies down their prestige, like AJ. It was just too much. We saw him every single week as champ. He was champ for over a year, and it still didn't feel like much. And I think if you see too much of wrestling talent, it takes away the mystique of it. I don't want to see the same person two times a week every single week. I think that's ridiculous. Becky gives the same promo on Twitter, Raw, and SmackDown Live too much. I agree with that. It might not be a popular opinion, but I sure agree with it. I think GHP asked a pretty cool question. I gotta find out where it is. I'm seeing some Techno Team 2000. That's very interesting. I interviewed. Speaking of that, I interviewed one of the members of Techno Team 2000, not Watts, but Chad Fortune. I interviewed Chad Fortune a few months back because Chad Fortune was technically the first person who beat Goldberg. He beat him at a house show, so I interviewed him. That was pretty fun. Here it is. Here's JSP. Do you think with the terrible happenings with the WWE, they can use an off season to reshape the face of the WWE? I know Vince wouldn't do it, but could they use that? Well, I think. I don't think an off season would be the case. I do think you do a season where wrestlers just aren't competing. You can have an off season for talent for, at least a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. If Seth Rollins don't show up in 3 months and this year, or maybe even 6 weeks, at least something. And AJ doesn't show up for this amount of time, and I think that helps them. It gives them a refresher because they're coming back, and I think that if an off season, it should be an off season for talent, not necessarily an off season for WWE, because WWE is so depending on the week by week TV and house shows and things like that. And a complete off season away from the product wouldn't help them. Let's see, some great questions today, guys. Definitely calming my frustration from that glitch with the Steamboat interview. Let's see what we got. Some good comments, good questions, guys. GSP says it's almost like they're treating Raw and SmackDown like WrestleMania season where anyone can show up anywhere. I still don't like it. I agree. Ryan's asking, I feel you. GSP said, okay. I feel you, kind of like a Brock Lesnar feel, because I'm not gonna lie, when Brock Lesnar doesn't show up for a while, I still pop for his return. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Not as champion, but when he comes back, outside of champion, I agree. When people come back, and it's always that return pop. People get it's a tried and true, the return pop. People get it all the time. Ryan's asking how I seen the dark side of wrestling on Viceland. You said Vinceland. I don't know. He had his own documentary channel, but I know you meant Viceland. Yes, I have seen all of them. I've seen the Screwjob. I've seen the Brody. I've seen Savage, and then recently saw the Von Erichs. All of them very good. I'm really looking forward to the Gino Hernandez one too. I think that's coming out this week. But yeah, I really enjoyed all of them. People know I love just old school documentary type wrestling stuff, old road stories type of deal, and Dark Side of Wrestling is an absolutely fantastic documentary. I recently heard an interview from Dutch Mantel, and he was talking about it because he narrated most of them except for the Brody one. I think he didn't narrate. I think Foley narrated the Brody one because Mantel was featured on the Brody one because he was I believe he was a booker for in Puerto Rico at the time. So, he was a big part of, he was in the building and he was documenting, he was recalling where he was and what he did during the stabbing and stuff. And so, yeah, he was a good feature on that. And, I would say out of all of them, probably the most intense one was the Von Erichs. Because I knew all about the deaths, but I've seen so many Von Erich documentaries. I even have the World Class, the World Class. I've seen the World Class DVD when I think Gary Hart narrated it. I've seen so many documentaries on the Von Erich curse, but I think that there was just something about this one that really brought that back to life. And then it was just such an emotional pull on this one, as far as just Kerry hugging Fritz before he took the Jeep out to the field. I don't know if I knew that. I knew that he did take the Jeep out. I don't know if I knew that he hugged Fritz and told him he loved him before he did that. I don't know if I ever recall remembering that. And then when Kevin, when I think it was Chris that went up, I think it was like a hill or mountain, like he went up the hill or something like that, and kind of was in solitude. And then Kevin went to him and then left him. And then I think it was Fritz that said, "You better get back to him." And then by the time he came back, he committed suicide. Just really, really tough stuff. So I knew about Mike. I knew about the stomach issue that he had. And I think it was, that was David. And then Mike was the toxic shock syndrome after competing. Jacking up his shoulder, I believe it was, and then he committed suicide from being depressed and stuff too. And so I knew about all the suicides, but I knew the stories behind them. But when they when they kind of recounted them and the way that they did it, I think it was a lot more emotional. And so that, to me, just from that standpoint, I think it was fantastic, man. It was awesome. And as far as Brad Hammer thinking that it could have been at work, just an interesting angle on that. I think the Brett story is kind of exhausted. There was a couple really nuanced things that I didn't necessarily recall knowing, but it wasn't anything major. They still did a very good job with the editing and the presentation. Brody was awesome. I mean, that the story, the documentary, the production part was awesome. Not what happened, of course. I don't know if I knew about the shower piece. I didn't know about the taking too long in Puerto Rico because it was like bumper to bumper traffic. I didn't know about that. I did know about that. I did hear before about the court case, but that was a refresher to me as far as like what happened in court and how he went away scot-free because of self-defense. So that was a refresher. And then the Savage part, I mean, there wasn't anything really new as far as I recall. I mean, the goings on with Elizabeth and Luger, the divorce and still working together, and then going back to working together in WCW, and the death of Liz and the death of Savage. So that was, I think I knew about all of that. There wasn't really anything that was new. There were some refreshers, but there wasn't many new stuff. So, but all together it was, I think all of them have been absolutely fantastic. I've seen some Gino Hernandez documentaries, but I'm really excited to see how they're going to do this, how they're going to present the Gino Hernandez stuff. So really interesting about that. All right, I'm about to bring Evan Tech Proud on the line. Let me address a few of these Ask Chris questions right quick. A brand off season. Raw will be on for 6 months. SmackDown another 6 months gives the crew and brand time to refresh while they're still being on TV year round. The only problem with that is, SmackDown's deal with Fox. So I don't, it's a money thing for WWE. I don't know. Just one time a week still. I still don't see any of this stuff helping. At the end of the day, it's very poor storylines, it's very poor builds, very poor story arcs, very poor cliffhangers. That's the crux of what the issue is. Brand off season, on season, those are minor compared to what the big issue is. Zed is asking, is Impact really trying to lock Eli Drake into a 1-year no-compete clause? That seems excessive. And you know what the crazy part of that is? I interviewed Don Callis, actually. I was a part of a presser with Don Callis during WrestleMania weekend. And I really liked the mentality, and I was there with, Scott D'Amore, too. Scott D'Amore was there, too. And, I really like I've watched, I've seen heard interviews from them, too, as far as they really wanted to start working with a lot of people, making it kind of an NWA feel to it, because NWA was territorial. They would work with, brand to brand. Speaking of World Class, NWA worked with World Class in order for Kerry Von Erich to become, World Heavyweight Champion during the David Memorial. So they had that feel. Flair would go to Puerto Rico too. They were, it was a territory. It was an alliance. They were everywhere. But it seemed like Impact's trying to do that, which I like. The event that I covered during WrestleMania weekend was United We Stand. I've said this before. It was Impact, Lucha, MLW, and WrestlePro. And I like that. I like the fact that you have 4 brands in one. It's, under the Impact umbrella, but it's 4 different brands. And the fact that they're, that the rumors of them doing that to Eli Drake is, I don't know why you would want to do that. I don't understand why you would want to do that for 1 year. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how legally you can get through that if he never signed anything like that. So that's quite interesting. GSP's asking, what is everyone's worst pay-per-view since the brand split? His is Extreme Rules 2017. The Raw brand best match of that night was the Bar versus the Hardys cage match. That's a good question for the P and Peanut Gallery there. My least favorite one, I can't even recall a really good one. I think it was the one right before Great Balls of Fire. Maybe between Seth and Joe, maybe. I think. Let's see. Great Balls of Fire. I think there was one right before it that was like not good. That was, let's see. Because Great Balls of Fire was actually pretty good. Or maybe one right after. Yeah, Battleground was not good to me. Cena beating Rusev in a flag match. Sami Zayn defeating Mike Kanellis. Jinder Mahal beating Randy Orton in a Punjabi prison match. Owens beating Styles to win the U.S. title. Shinsuke beating Baron Corbin by disqualification. New Day and Usos was really good. Yeah, that one wasn't good. 5-way elimination match. Natalya for number 1 contender spot at SummerSlam. Natalya, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Lana, and Tamina. Yeah, that one wasn't good. That one was really bad, actually. Great Balls of Fire was actually pretty good. Money at Bank before that was it was alright. Not bad. Still Jinder and Orton. Breezango defeating the Ascension in the tag match. 3.5 minutes and Baron. Yeah, that was actually pretty bad too. Carmelo winning the Money in the Bank. And then Corbin winning. And then Breezango. Wow. Count out. Yeah, that one was actually pretty bad too. 2017 was not a very good not a very good year, half year, the first half. Kendo stick on a pole. That was Extreme Rules. Neville defeating Austin Aries in a submission match, and Samoa Joe winning the number 1 contenders match. Oh wow. Rich Swann. You had 2 cruiserweight matches on there. Mixed tag. Rich Swann and Sasha Banks defeating Alexa Bliss and Noam Dar. Miz beating Ambrose to win the Intercontinental Championship. Yeah, that one was bad too. Wow. So yeah, those pay-per-views were bad. All right, let's bring on Evan Tech Proud in the building. How are you tonight, sir? Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it does. GHP said he might be turning heel because he likes Lars and nobody else does. I think he's a wonderful. I think they're doing a good job with him as a heel. I mean, he's not supposed to be like. I'm not supposed to like Lars. I don't like him because he's a heel. I don't like. It's not about I like what they're doing with him. I just don't like him as a heel. Yeah, so he's doing his job. We think he's doing his job well. I see a star 2, GHP. Yep. He is. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Wildboy's asking, are you doing anything special for your wife on Mother's Day? We are driving to Detroit to your restaurant for you to cook us an exquisitely amazing dish. That's what we're gonna do. No, but she wants to go out to eat, so I'm gonna take her out to eat. Yes. All right. So that's what we'll do here. Wild Boy said deal, but I'm off. That's funny. Well, Wild Boy, you better make some arrangements because we're driving to Detroit on Sunday. No, we will drive down the street about 5 minutes away from my house, probably. All right, so let's hurry up and get into these headlines for the sake of time. Again, apologies for the glitch. I will make that work. I think as I'm giving some time to think about it, I'm gonna go ahead and put part 1, which you were supposed to listen to. I'm gonna put that on Twitter. I'm gonna post it on Twitter. All right. So that's what we're going to do right after the show. Hang out, check it out on Twitter, and tweet me back your thoughts or anything like that. So that's what we shall do. All right, so let's get into these headlines, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, here we go. Even my headline music is acting up. Man, how about that? Show must go on, though. All right, so Bill Goldberg appearing at the Saudi Arabia Stomping Grounds event. I think this is great. I'm old school, so they're supposed to be bringing back Goldberg, Taker. There was somebody else that they're bringing back, like a legend. Who else was it? It was Goldberg, Taker, and somebody else. Let me look that up. You said who was it? Brock. Yeah, Brock. Yeah. Goldberg, Taker, and Brock. Yeah. Yep. I'm totally cool with this. I'm much more intrigued in that than what we see every week. So I'm all for it. There's some worked beef between him and Lashley. So ought to be told. I mean, are you kidding me? Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley at Saudi Arabia? That would be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So I mean, Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley on paper at Saudi Arabia is much more intriguing than anything that we see every week. Simple as that.
The thing that will really add, if they will book on from this point on to the pay-per-view, because right now he's just when he has these matches with Brian Corbin, he's with Finn Balor, so if he can strong from this point on,
I agree.
that will really add to, that's
Yep. I agree with that. Yeah. No, they probably won't do Brock Reigns. They might do Brock Rollins. And listen, Brock announced that he's not going. He's not. Yeah, I mean, Brock announced that he's not going back to UFC. So you know what that means. They might throw the UV title on him once again. So we'll see. We shall see. It would not surprise me if the WWE decides to put that title back on him come June the 7th, as a as a fallback because of their bad ratings. So, knowing WWE, a Raw writer recently left. Raw writer recently. There's a tongue twister for you. Recently left, was let go, and so the pressure's on, man, and with both Raw and SmackDown, just the writers. I mean, the thing is, you can't even always blame the writers either, because from what I know from talking to former talent, there's some good ideas, and even the talent, a lot they pitch their own ideas, and then a lot of times I remember I had Brad Maddox on the show, and he was talking about how a lot of times they have a specific writer that they go to, and the people pitch their ideas, and so the writers come up with some really interesting stuff, and then at the end of the day, it's presented to Vince, and he just totally just vetoes it. So it's at the end of the day, the writers are just there to please Vince because at the drop of a dime, I mean, I've heard about it many times that a Raw is completely rewritten just hours before the show starts. And that's frustrating. That's not only frustrating to the writers, it's frustrating to the talent. Are you kidding me? You have to learn. I remember Bret Hart talking about that. Bret Hart was talking about how stuff would be rewritten, and he'll get a script just a few hours before, and to memorize everything on the script just for a few hours. That's frustrating. That's not authentic. This reason why people are so frustrated, because they have to learn a script, and then they have an idea, and then they get excited about it, and it's rewritten. Look at Mojo Rawley. He's case in point. He's keep getting rewritten.
Of WWE. Remember during the Monday Night Wars, the main thing WWE was getting on for WCW last minute. They kept changing it.
Yep.
Unpredictable.
Yep.
That show didn't come on the same way every week.
Correct.
Including that the broadcast will sometimes it start off backstage. Sometimes it always changed. It felt like it was a live show because it changed up. Of course, I'm friends with Bischoff. Said some stuff that we had set up ahead of time. Okay, we'll change it up.
Mm-hmm.
The same old stuff.
Same old stuff. Yep. Yep. Coming out, on SmackDown, he wants to tell them his name. It's like everything's the same way. Yep.
So the same stuff they're gonna WCW about.
Absolutely.
Even as been told, fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah, it's not working at all. Cody says Chris still rocking the WrestleMania Cup. Yeah, I have 3 of them now. You got to figure it out, man. Come on. Yes, this is the WrestleMania 30. Figure it out, man. Come on. This is 34, New Orleans. I have 33, 34, and 35 cups now. 33 and 35 are up in my dish tray, and I just pick. I'll pick randomly. I have 5 cups that I typically pick from to drink from. I have my 3 WrestleManias, and then I have 2 Ohio State cups. So those are my 5. So, I just randomly choose one. Today I chose WrestleMania 35, 34, which was a great experience. The show wasn't very good to me, but the experience in New Orleans altogether, the coverage-wise, it was great. GSP Wildboy's asking, whenever AEW premieres as a network show, what debut numbers would consider episode 1 a successful failure as in ratings? That's a really good question. So Raw's doing around 2-1 now. I wouldn't say 500,000. I would because I would say probably a success would be half of WWE. So I would say around the 1 million mark. Failure would be probably under 200,000. So between 200,000 and 1 million would be like, okay, well we still got to turn up the intensity. A success would be 1 million. Especially if you're aiming, if the rumors right now are Turner, so TNT or TBS, so you don't want to have a big show do 200,000, 300,000. Especially if it's supposed to be prime time. If they get a prime time slot and do 300,000 views, that would be not good. Especially, but if they have like a Friday night 9 p.m. type deal, if they do 300,000, that would look good. It just depends on where they're going to be slotted at. Prime time 300,000, not good. Away from prime time 300,000, yeah. That'll be good. But 1 million with TNT and TBS, 1 million would be good. Yeah, right. And so if they debut on prime time, getting 300,000 wouldn't be very good. That wouldn't be good. Yeah, I can definitely see them debut on prime time. Yeah. GSP's asking, what is your favorite match of all time? If you can't give one, give at least 3. Well, I can give you one. My favorite match of all time is Sting versus Flair, Great American Bash 1990. So that is my favorite match of all time. Not because of the match per se, but because Sting is the GOAT, and that was the first time he won the WWE Championship. I would say probably second would be the... Probably my top 3. As far as number 2 would probably be Simmons versus Vader when Simmons won the title, and number 3 probably would be Hennig versus Flair on Raw. The loser leaves match when Hennig actually beat Flair. I remember marking out on that. Me and my brother. Actually, my brother doesn't watch wrestling anymore, but we both used to watch it when we were kids. And I remember that Raw when Hennig beat Flair, and we both were just like marking out like crazy. Let me find out what Raw that was. I think it was 93 if I'm not mistaken. I think it was in 93. Let's see. Let me check and see exactly what that was. Let me check and see the date. I think it was 93. I'm almost positive it was 93. Loser leaves WWE. It was... I don't see the... It says 19... January 25th, 1993. Loser leaves town. WWE. Yep. January 25th, 1993. That was it. Have you heard about the progress of the AEW TV deal? No, not much progress. Like I said, they're it's supposed to be, from the rumors, it's supposed to be a Turner network, so TBS or TNT, but they haven't made. Yeah, they haven't made much progress.
But the fact that there's a lot of TV executives that seem to that hopefully that doesn't hinder any TV execs for giving a deal. So hopefully for the next month, from what I got inside, we can hear something. Hopefully.
Well, we shall see.
That'd be a good thing, but they'll do something. I mean, hopefully.
Yeah, they should be able to get something. All right, real quick, these headlines, and then we'll get to this tournament. Just, your grades of Raw and SmackDown. That's a good point, Wild Boy. TNT is basketball heavy. I would see AEW preempted a lot. That's a really good point, actually. So Jericho and Kazuchika Okada. So, challenge. I saw the video, actually. The Painmaker is what Jericho calls himself now during this feud. Interesting video. Challenges Okada, so it looks like we'll be getting them for Dominion 6-9. I'm a big Okada fan. He's one of my top 5. And so, yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Here's the issue, though. Double Nothing's in May. And, Dominion is like 2 weeks later. So Jericho loses both of those matches. He's in 2 marquee matches. It's him and Omega at Double Nothing, and then him and Okada at Dominion. I definitely don't see him losing it to losing the title to Jericho. I'm a big Okada fan. He's one of my favorites. But if Jericho wins the IWGP Championship, to me, that would be absolutely fantastic. I just don't see that happening. But it could. It could. Watch party for Double Nothing. I don't know. I don't see myself ordering it. Well, I'll check and see. I'll check and see if I don't have to order that. I don't see myself. I don't know. I think I would talk to some media and see if I can get some media access or something like that. I'll most likely I'll end up watching it. Money in the Bank, yes. Wild Boy's asking about Money in the Bank. Yeah, I can see that happening. So yeah. So I would be interested. Daniel said he'd be the first guy, Gene, to send Styles to have it. No offense to Jay White. Well, Omega was. He's Canadian, so. Yeah. Yep. Jay White had it as well. So these Mark Henry says Busted Open Radio, he's on Busted Open, and he says the reason I'm angry is because I pull him aside and told him, this is what he's talking about, Lio Rush. He pulls Lio aside, he tells him, hey man, I'm hearing stuff in the locker room. What's up? Rush's voice says, oh no, there's nothing wrong. That's a blatant lie to my face. I was trying to help him. I was trying to let him know that if you have a question to ask, now is the time, because you're very likely not going to run into anyone that knows the system like I know the system. And he didn't do that. He lied to my face. And if you're walking around and cannot pay for a rental car, you can't pay for a hotel with the money you make every week, then you need to change the way you are spending. You can't blame that on the office. If you spent everything you made before you got it, that's your problem. What Leo's doing is nothing different than what I did. He's getting off very easy, because in my day, they would have said, hey, Lio, Bobby should never drive. You should take his bags to the car. When he comes back from his match, you should have a bottle of water for him when he walks through the curtain. Which is a very good point. I mean, you know, that's just a part of this is part of the business. This is paying your dues, man. I mean, and here's the thing. Kudos to Lio Rush for getting his spot in the WWE. But let's be real here, okay? let's be real. From what I've heard, Lio Rush. From what I've heard, Lio Rush is very confident and cocky backstage, and it rubs people the wrong way. And if I can be honest, you know, man, he needs to be super humble, and he needs to be a sponge, man, because he can't. He's not at the state to do that right now, to be honest with you, because with the exception of being, you know, Bobby Lashley's manager, his mouthpiece, there's nothing about Lio Rush that the WWE is going to use to become a star. So you can be as cocky as you want, but where's it going to get you in the WWE? It's going to get you where you are now, which is not even being on TV. So it's like it's not helping you being cocky, but it's like it's just ridiculous to me. I think he has a lot of potential. I really like Lio Rush when he was in Ring of Honor. He had some really good matches with Donovan Dijak. I liked him when he was in NXT as well. I just think that they should have gave him some more time in NXT. And I just don't see Lio Rush as a star. I don't see WWE making him anything past Bobby Lashley's lackey, really, honestly. So I mean, that's pretty much what I see him doing, and the fact that he has this opportunity is great. I mean, look at the Singh brothers, man. The Singh brothers is like the total opposite of Lio Rush when it comes to that. Super humble about their opportunities. I'm Facebook friends with one of them, and he's, always posts pictures of like, you know, when he was as a kid and how he is now and how he's so happy to, so happy to have that opportunity. It's absolutely amazing, man. So it's like, it's all about the mindset, man. It's all about the mindset of where you are. And like I said, the Singh brothers compared to Lio Rush, both of them are in a managerial position. One, is much more grateful than the other, and being cocky about it, man. Listen, and it goes to show that, you know, people aren't missing Lio Rush, since he's been gone. He was a good hand for Lashley, but even that, got to the point where it wasn't as interesting. So that's unfortunate. All right, Raw and SmackDown. Raw and SmackDown reviews, guys. We only got a few minutes left. Yeah. You know what's so funny? Ken, I was thinking the same thing. The Black Enzo. I was thinking the same thing. All right, Raw and SmackDown grades, guys. Let's do both of them. Well, we already had a music video by Lio. I think didn't Lio already do a music video before he came to WWE, like right after his ROH or like during his NXT days or something like that. I think he has a video out, so it's the same thing. Interesting.
I got a question. So Monday Night Raw, we got to watch this thing with no promotion, and Kofi wins clean, and Roman Reigns comes out. I'm not being on TV when he could have done that on SmackDown. It made no sense. Storyline. That makes sense. And the Revival's going to get burned and say their contract is over. I mean, that's... think that was an instant.
Yeah. Yeah, looks like Gallows and Anderson are doing the same thing. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Raw FFF is what Wild Boy says. SmackDown B. GHP says C and C. Kimbo says C and C. C minus for GHP for Raw. Yeah, the Uzi Hots and all. Yeah, I'll say a D plus for Raw. SmackDown was excellent. SmackDown was solid. I give SmackDown like a C plus. Yeah, see, I mean, you know, Kofi being a fighting champion, I'm totally fine with that. Well, Kofi and Daniel Bryan was pretty good, but that was really the only. I mean, there was D plus, C plus for SmackDown. Ryan says C minus. Raw, SmackDown B minus. Wild Boy thinks Raw was completely hot garbage. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into this flavor of the week. Here we go. Flavor of the week. All right, man. It's crazy glitches today. Let's make it work, though, man. We're gonna make it work. All right, so let's get into this bracket, guys. We got like 5 minutes. It might be 2 weeks. Let's just do the first round today. Vince Russo and Chris Benoit. This is best one-time NWA/WCW Big Gold Belt World Heavyweight Champion since 1989. So the first is Vince Russo and Chris Benoit. Vince Russo and Chris Benoit. What you got, guys? We didn't do any trivia yet. Here we go. How many times did Mick Foley win the WWE Championship? Trivia as well. How many times did Mick Foley win the WWE Championship? All right, guys, come on. Let's do this. Benoit or Russo, the better one-time champion. Russo had it for 7 days, and he said, I'll just relinquish it because I don't wrestle. And Benoit had it for 1 day because of going to the WWE. So, 3 times. Good job, guys. Looks like Benoit is. Yeah, all right. So Benoit wins that one. Next one is David Arquette versus Hiroshi Hase. David Arquette versus Hiroshi Hase. What you got, guys? Hiroshi. Yeah, me too. He only won it for a week. What you guys got? Arquette or Hase? Ryan says Hase all day. Yep. All right, Hase. Hase gets the nod. I see a few Arquettes, but Hase gets it. Next, Ricky Steamboat, Scott Steiner, because nobody's finer. Steamboat or Steiner? Steamboat or Steiner? Steamboat or Steiner? Oh, well, that's unanimous. Ken's never heard of Hiroshi Hase. Big Japan star. He was real big in the junior division in New Japan. He was, and yeah, so they capitalized on his Japanese popularity and had him become WCW International Champion, actually, during when Rick Rude had it. So, Steamboat. Last one for the first round is the Great Muta versus Tatsumi Fujinami. The Great Muta versus Tatsumi Fujinami. Zudamon says Steiner gets a half a point for his math promo. Yeah, that just it just celebrated an anniversary of that too. That math promo was hilarious. All right. Looks like we see one, but one Fujinami, but Muta gets it. All right, for next week, guys, we have Benoit versus Hasi. We have Steamboat versus Muta, and then the winners go against Chono and Wyndham. Again, Goldberg gets the double bye because he is the longest reigning champion that had one day. Chono and Wyndham were the second and third longest reign, so they get one bye. Goldberg gets a double bye. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for just bearing with me and having a fun time tonight. Again, check out within as soon as the show's over, I'm gonna have part 1 on my Twitter. Follow at Chris Prolific. Hope you had a good time tonight, guys. Again, Forever Tech Prout. I'm Chris Featherstone. Enjoy a week of wrestling. Of course, follow me on Chris Prolific. Check it out here in just a moment with that part 1 interview with Ricky Steamboat. Had a fun with you all, as always. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy a week of wrestling. God bless, and always remember, I do it for you.